Hello, everyone, and welcome to the new episode of You Can Exhale Now podcast. Today, I am hosting Kristin Rulon, who is the founder of MindStar. This is the world's first self-care app that pays you back. As a survivor of postpartum depression and PTSD, Kristin is all too familiar with mental health struggles. So in the fall of 2018, she founded MindStar. And I am really excited to have her here. Obviously, she has an amazing story of battling mental health issues and coming out on the other side strong.
Welcome to You Can Exhale Now, a mindful living podcast for the modern pace, hosted by Lesia Liu. This podcast is for anyone who wants to get more out of life without the burnout. Because when you learn to take proper care of yourself, you have more energy, a more positive outlook, and more gratitude for life. And because you cannot reach your goals if you're tired, overwhelmed, judgmental, angry, and feel sorry for yourself. Each episode, you will learn actionable strategies for self-care, mental health, productivity, better life-work balance, and happiness from coaches, therapists, and experts. Stop holding your breath. You can exhale now. Choose to be a more authentic version of yourself than you've been in a while.
Kristin, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, so good to have you today. So tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of the story of your own mental health experiences and how it all came together to create an app.
Yeah, so I never intended to own a business or start something like this. Let me just say my background is journalism. I was very content in my 20s of just having our 3 children, married to my high school sweetheart, and, writing and, making an impact as a journalist in various ways. And then that was it. The universe, God, had a different plan. It's interesting how we can change. I'm one of those people that I felt like people couldn't change. But through the personal development work that I've done, that we can change if we put in the work and we really believe in ourselves. And I feel like that's what it comes down to. What I tell people, when you start doing something that is out of your comfort zone, you have to have immense self-compassion, forgiveness for yourself. So what brought me to that realization that started my self-care company was 4.5 years ago. I was diagnosed with severe postpartum depression and anxiety from the birth control shot. It was my 3rd child. I was at this point before that, I was unaware, I guess blissfully unaware. I knew about anxiety and depression, but I had never really experienced it. Looking back, I can see that I've always had anxiety. I feel like in today's world, we always have some level of anxiety. It's just the question is how we're managing it and how we're taking care of ourselves, which is why I'm a big advocate for self-care and how self-care saves lives now because of what I went through. So had our daughter, went in for the checkup, was put on the birth control shot, told there was a 2% chance it could give me severe PPD if I already had baby blues. So at this point, I'm thinking a 2% chance of getting it, 98% chance I'm not going to. Lucky me, I guess, because a week later, I was looking for my daughter's social security card for insurance purposes, and I just start calling myself all kinds of things in my head that are not typically in my vernacular. There are things that I don't typically say to myself, let alone out loud. And so I went to the doctor. They said, here's some pills. It could take up to 2 years for your body to regulate itself as far as what was injected in you and if those hormones, because a lot of that particular shot is progesterone, and the way just the chemical balance of it might take a while for your body to release it. And so it did. For the first year, I very much was like, okay, I'm going to eat healthy and I'm going to work out. Again, not educated that there is so much more we can do for ourselves. But a lot of things in life is you don't really learn and you don't really understand until you actually go through it yourself. And when you actually are kind of put up against a wall, and you kind of have to fight for your life. And I knew I was going to overcome it, but I didn't know what kind of person I was going to be. Who was Kristin going to be after Am I just going to be this shell of a person? And this is what's going to define me. So around my daughter's first birthday, I was getting a little better, but then I kind of had a big panic attack, big anxiety attack. And I realized I needed to do more, which is why whenever I talk about publicly, I go out and I'm a public speaker now. And when I do podcasts like this, I talk about what I consider to be the 5 pillars of self-care. And that's why it's so much more than just eating healthy and working out. Well, those are important. But if we don't handle emotional and mental self-care, none of it else really matters. And unfortunately, the latest statistics in suicide also prove that.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's one of those things where, society, this is what my company does. We combat different, the misconceptions of self-care. And that's one of the big ones. If it's just face mask and bubble baths, and we should just eat healthy and work out, which are 2 very important things, but they're more of the physical self-care aspect. So anyway, a year, I decided to really start researching the mind, which is where I really started to heal. Was I started basically just filling my brain with positive things, with books. I quit watching the news. I essentially just kind of found what works for me. So any suggestions that I give, it is all trial and error, because everyone is self-care and everyone's journey of healing and growth and evolving is different. That's where I say self-compassion and forgiveness are the 2 biggest things you need in order to really succeed. I started doing all this research, and I'm thinking, okay, I don't know what I'm going to do with this research and all this information I know about the brain and, from various aspects. But what I ended up doing is a little over 8 to 10 of me a worksheet with a star on it. And I just got done working out, was cooking dinner. I looked at it and I literally said out loud, "Where is my star for being an adult?" And I just kind of laughed at myself, right? Because we reward kids for such good behavior, right? When they are polite and they're kind and all these things and they help out. And I'm just like, where is mine? And I get a beauty subscription in the mail monthly, and I saw the packaging and it just kind of clicked. Like this surge went through me. Like, couldn't we build an app that rewards people for their personal development? So I started researching of different apps, and there are apps out there that are goal tracking apps. And there are apps out there that are geared towards wellness now. A lot of them are insurance apps. So you have to obviously have that insurance. And then it kind of puts your name kind of in a drawing for a gift card, right? If you lose so much weight or you do this and that for yourself. So there are more apps, but being a particular app that focuses on self-care and really from a mental perspective, I couldn't find anything. And I also tell people, if you want to work on your limiting beliefs, start a business, because every limiting belief you have is going to show up. And,
Absolutely.
and I'm just like, I'm not an app person. I'm not a tech. I'm a writer, which actually my journalism degree has really come in handy. But so I just kind of put it on the table. I was like, okay, I'm just going to journal about it. I'm a creative. So I just kind of would journal about it and dream about it and kind of research. I tried giving it away. So my friends I know who develop apps, I'm like, you have to build this app, that rewards people for their self-care and, and helps them track their self-care over time. And then, connects them with healthcare professionals. So if they want to take their self-care to the next level, and find a therapist or find a chiropractor, they can, and it's easier because unfortunately just insurance websites are sometimes just outdated. And I had it from my own personal experience with my own therapist, who's now never allowed to retire. I tell her all the time, she's quite a bit older, please don't retire anytime soon, please. So anyways, I think I couldn't do it. It was like, there's no way. I even put it out there on Instagram and was like, somebody build this. This could save lives. This could help people become more compassionate with themselves and build some self-care awareness. And then a company called Inventive Bite, actually in California, in Silicon Valley, found it, and through the hashtag app idea. So it's almost kind of like a fairy tale. Instead of a guy, I got a business. I got my app developed. So I'm going to write that book one of these days, unless someone who's an illustrator wants to do it for me or collaborate, let me know. And so we talked, and I knew nothing about business. I didn't know about pitches. Pitches, are 3 to 5 minutes, 10 max, and 45 minutes later, we were putting together this plan of, can we do this? Is it feasible? My app is bootstrapped because I am, my husband and I, we live comfortably, but we are middle class. And so we don't have a lot of extra income. So we're just like, okay, how are we going to do this? And, I'm one of those people that if I'm going to commit to something, while it might sometimes take me long, depending on my schedule, I like to commit. And so I knew what was this going to take. And I knew the value of it even then, that building this could really help people understand what self-care is and how valuable it is. Because I've been kind of out speaking and talking to people now, and a lot of people just think that self-care is for women. They think that self-care takes too much time. It's too expensive because you have to buy something. Or one I have noticed, particularly with women, and these seem to be older women, and I know that there's a generational gap as far as the mindset goes around self-care.
For sure.
Right. And it's that they don't deserve it. Like somehow they have to do something that makes them worthy. Like they have to make sure the house is clean, the kids are taken care of, and they have to do work, this and that. And then when really there are small, consistent steps we can do for ourselves every day, throughout the day, that nourishes ourselves, right? Like everyone just thinks it's a spa day and it's this big elaborate thing. And while spa days are great, that's just not reality for majority of people. So that's kind of how we came to be, taking my own. I tell people essentially I was a mirror and I got put back together as a mosaic. And I, through my journey, would just tell myself piece by piece that I was worth fighting for. I was worth doing hard things for, that there was a reason I was going through this, I wasn't going to take this and let this just kind of ruin my life to where I just had this chip on my shoulder that I went through this traumatic experience. Like I wanted to evolve and for it to have purpose and meaning. And it's hard sometimes to say, but I can even say now, if I hadn't went through that, I wouldn't be on the cusp of launching a really incredible app. It's getting some great traction and some national attention, and we're not even technically launched yet. So it's one of those things where I find value in the struggle, though I don't think we need to struggle to succeed. If we can take our struggles and pivot them in a way that can help us succeed, we can learn from them. Then I feel like that makes the struggle bearable and easier to let go of.
Yes, that was beautifully said. I could not agree more with you that we often assign value to struggle. And a lot of times we do learn from struggle, but it doesn't necessarily have to be there. It doesn't have to be painful for us to evolve and be better. And I absolutely love your story. Thank you for sharing it. I think it's so important that people talk about it, that we get rid of the stigma around mental health and that we openly talk about it, because at the end we do become stronger as a result of it. And so thank you for sharing the story. And I love that you talked about, different preconceived notions and different stereotypes and myths we have around self-care. I even recorded one of the episode 9 where I talked about different myths, and a lot of them, were exactly what you said, that we do not deserve it, that self-care is expensive, that self-care takes a lot of time, and stuff like that, but it definitely doesn't have to be that way. And you've mentioned that when you talk about self-care, you talk about 5 pillars of self-care. Mm-hmm. Could you speak more about that and what those 5 pillars are?
Sure. I'll speak about the 5 and I'll give 1 or 2 examples of each one so everyone kind of knows where they're at. Because, for example, I talk about the obvious one I'll do is a physical self-care. To me, that is the one that most people talk about. That is eating healthy, or so making healthier choices for yourself, because everyone's body and diet is different, depends on what they need for their body. But that is also getting good sleep, knowing your work cycle. For instance, for me, my creativity, when I sometimes, I designed the app MindStar. So what that means is that I have a little bit of a design background with my journalism degree. So I was able to really, to use design software to design how I wanted MindStar to look. I did that at night with my kids around me. And that's when that creativity hit me from 8 to midnight. That meant at midnight, I made sure that I was going to sleep. I might have more ideas, but I basically said, no, I need to go to sleep because I'm going to have to get up at 7 to go get the kids for school and whatever it may be. I know I have a friend of mine who goes to bed at 8 and gets up at 4. And he's the most creative between like 5 and 8 in the morning when he wants to work on his personal endeavors before work starts. So everyone is different. So physical self-care is, essentially getting that adequate sleep. Really needs to be 7 to 8 hours. That's hard sometimes. And then, or sometimes even 9 hours, depends on, again, knowing yourself. Self-care a lot is about knowing yourself. Self-care essentially is just, and it's an act and an expression of self-love. That's essentially what self-care is. And so physical is the obvious. The other pillar, another one, is spiritual. Spiritual is essentially all it is connecting with someone or something other than yourself. Because some people are spiritual and not religious, and some people are religious and not spiritual. And so a lot of times when I say spiritual self-care, people automatically think religion and praying. And whatever that looks like to you, the point is that there is such value in connecting with someone or something other than ourselves, whether that's connecting with nature, our animals. I did a little spiritual self-care over the weekend. I met up with a friend of mine. We don't get to see each other very often. And we spent like 5-6 hours just sitting on my parents' balcony, just visiting, just talking about life and everything. And connecting with her on that level was so nourishing. So to me, spiritual self-care is just about some sort of connection with something other than ourselves. That leads me to practical self-care. Practical self-care is about doing things, basically being a responsible person in the world. Pay your bills, don't dodge them, being financially responsible, paying your bills, obviously doing things like taking out the trash, keeping your house, I'm not saying it has to be spick and span, but keeping it to where it's whatever works for you, and obviously clean, time management. That's what practical self-care is. And a lot of people don't think about that, but that's an important part too, because procrastination is actually a way we can, it's actually soothing. We procrastinate sometimes. It's like a stress reliever when really we just need to just face the issue and look at our bank account and pay those bills and do what we need there. And trust me, I struggle with it sometimes too. I'm like, do I want to check the account right now before I buy this, or do I want to go ahead and just buy it and then worry about it later? So then that leads me to the final two, which are to me the most important, because if you can work on your emotional self-care and your mental self-care, other components of the self-care will kind of fall into place. Because it all comes down to our mindset. So I'm going to go with mental self-care first. Mental self-care is actually working our minds. We used to think, they used to believe that you were set with this IQ, whatever you were born with, this is how smart you were going to be. This was your IQ, and this is, these are the job ratings in your IQ, and this is what you were going to do. And thankfully, we have learned a lot about neuroplasticity and how the brain works and how it needs to be stimulated. And it's still growing and evolving even as adults, which is why we hear these success stories of people who were, deemed, not intelligent enough to run a business. And maybe they were janitors or, whatever in their 20s, and now in their 40s, now they're millionaires. And so because they decide to read and they nurture their mind, and part of that mental self-care, I throw in hobbies, because I believe that it's very important for us to not always make money on things that we love to do. There's a saying that we should have something, we should do something for money. We should do something for ourselves, and we should do some, for ourselves and others, and do something that we just love for fun. And so, like for me, for instance, that is for painting. I have no interest in being a painter or selling my paintings, I should say. My kids are very sweet and think that I should, and I definitely should not. but they're like, oh, mommy, put it on Facebook. And I'm like, I love that encouragement, right? Like they just they're not jaded by the world. They're not comparing. And I'm like, that is no, baby, that is just for mom. But that's seriously also, that is just for me. That's something that I love to do. It's very cathartic. But that's also, it's really good for the mind because you're working on parts of yourself. We like to label ourselves in society, and our brains also like to label and just put us in this way. Well, you're a writer, so therefore you must write. No, I also dance. I also sing. I also paint. I also craft. I'm not just one thing. We're multifaceted beings. And, there's different, there's mom Kristin and work Kristin and friend Kristin. And to nurture those and realize that that's okay, that's a big part of mental self-care, is really kind of getting to work our mind, maybe reading that book we've always wanted to read, or doing that rock climbing we've always wanted to do. And then there is the emotional aspect, and that's the work, right? That's working on your emotions and your mindset, knowing that you're not your emotions, that you're not your thoughts, putting in that really personal development work where that self-compassion, forgiveness comes in. So examples of that could be journaling. Journaling is a great way. We're feeling something, I call it a brain dump, and giving yourself just like 5 minutes to do that. Or what I also like to do is I have 2 songs, about 3 minutes and 50 seconds each. And those are my cry songs. Now, what I mean by that is that sometimes life just gets overwhelming and we're full of a bunch of emotions. And I'm very big about feeling our emotions, allowing them to be present, and then releasing them and letting them go and not stewing on them. So I have particular songs that automatically make me cry. I will go put those on and I will let myself cry because of the science behind, that's the saying, a good cry. Just go have a good cry. Well, the reason is that our tears are different depending on what we're experiencing. So, this is why we can have happy tears and then the sad tears, and they've actually done studies in those, and they're releasing different hormones. And their tears are actually carry hormones in them. And so this is why when you're so upset and you start crying, you feel better. It's because you're releasing all those pent-up hormones that were activated from that emotion, that you attached to whatever feeling or thought. So I have cry songs, and my kids even know I'm one of those where I identify as an empath. So I cry happy tears and I cry sad tears. And my oldest is 10, and I don't know how many times he's seen my headphones on and I'm doing the dishes, and all of a sudden he's looking at me and he can tell I'm crying. He's like, "What song are you listening to?" I said, "It's just a happy song." And I'm just crying while I do the dishes. Don't mind mom. And he knows. He's like, "Okay, it's fine." Or or sometimes I'm crying from a movie or something, and he really trying to teach him the importance of emotional intelligence, of not keeping that pent up. And it's perfectly okay to cry. It's a normal reaction, and it's a way to release our hormones, honestly, in a healthy way. So those are the 5 pillars. So I'll kind of go over it again. So, emotional, mental, practical, spiritual, and physical. Those are the 5 pillars that I think, and of course there's subcategories of different things, but I think those pretty much cover all the basis, kind of everything is what it means to be a human being, and the importance of how we need to nurture those areas for anybody who is wanting to work on their self-care. And I would say the most important one first is going to be emotional. And because if you're someone who doesn't take care of yourself, you kind of have to wonder why you feel that way, why you don't take care of yourself, and why you feel like, and it might come up where I feel like, oh, well, I don't take care of myself because I haven't done anything to earn it. I'm not worthy of it. Well, then therefore you need to work on your value as a person first, and of course keep doing your other things. But, if you're already drinking water and eating healthy, that's great. But it really comes down to your mindset. When you really start making change, if you can kind of just make a few tweaks in your mindset, a lot can change in your life, a lot of good things.
Absolutely. I cannot agree more. Yeah. And I think a lot of people still think of self-care as something extra and something optional and something that you have to earn, that you need to deserve. Once I'm done with all these things, then I can take a few minutes out of my day to take care of myself. But the problem is that your to-do list is never getting smaller. If anything, it usually gets bigger as the day progresses, as the week progresses, and so forth. And I loved, you touched on these different self-care things, and you talked about getting out of your comfort zone with creating the app. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of getting out of your comfort zone, even if you struggle with mental health, and how to do it in a gentle way where
Yes.
and not hurtful to your
Yes. Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. Yeah. If you're like me, you're like, okay, all right, I'm ready to make some change. Okay, now I'm just going to go 90 miles an hour. It doesn't work like that. Especially if you have a mental illness. This is why I built an app where it you can build a self-care routine, but it's got, we have 16 curated suggestions, but you also put your own things, because I got to a point where I have a beautiful family, friends and family that love me. I've got a roof over my head. I've got a lot going for me compared to other people in this world. And all I could look forward to was my vitamin gummies the next day. I was like, well, if I don't die tonight, at least tomorrow, which I had this weird fear that I was going to die in my sleep. So, or somehow I would just dissipate. I don't know. Again, there's really no logic when you're in a severe mental illness. There just really isn't. And so I was like, well, at least I get my gummy vitamins tomorrow. And I had so much more to be thankful for, but it was my gummy vitamins at times that I was so it was all like going to the very, very basics of, I'm still breathing. I'm still, have function in my legs and my arms. I can still run. I might die running, but I can still run. Like, I can still do all these things. So for somebody who is wanting to get out of their comfort zone, I would like to let them know that, unfortunately, as beautiful as our brains are, our brains like patterns. It likes consistency. So if you have been consistently feeling sad, or maybe this one particular thought that's not a positive thought about yourself, and if you have been thinking this about yourself for a long time, you've eventually laid down, as I say, train tracks to where you've associated an experience, a color or something to where it's a trigger. Okay, so the point is, though, is that you've kind of laid down this foundation. So your brain is used to this pattern and it's comfortable with it, because they're like, oh, let's say, for an example, associate the color yellow with, I don't know, feeling like not enough. So every time you see the color yellow, you think, I'm not enough. If you were to do that over and over, eventually your brain, every time it sees yellow, you'll automatically have that thought. So the point is that while the mind is powerful for things like that, it is able to rewire those tracks. But you have to be patient and give yourself time. And this is why you have to go slow. Because if it's a thought that you've had about yourself since you were 7, and if you're my age in your 30s, you're not going to overcome that in a month. You're not going to overcome that probably in 2 to 3 months. I've been doing personal work for 4.5 years. And about 3 weeks ago, I started having thoughts about myself negatively that I hadn't had since I was a teenager. And I was like, where is this coming from? Something had triggered it. And I was like, wow, I thought I had evolved and this wasn't, and then I just went back to the basics of taking care of myself, eating healthy, nurturing myself and loving myself. So with that, your brain is kind of betraying you. Your brain likes patterns. It doesn't mean that it's true. What you think is 90% of what we think of is not true. It's just not. And our brain is taking in so much more information these days. So my thing is that if you're wanting to work on yourself, you're wanting to work through this comfort zone, you're comfortable with, let's just say, you're the type of person that's maybe afraid to get out and actually go to the grocery store, especially with the coronavirus. Maybe you're terrified to go outside. And so you just order your groceries. My suggestion to that would be, start small, celebrate the wins, and maybe step out of your house and go to your car. And then go back to your house, and then go back inside. Mm-hmm. And then maybe you try an hour later, and then go back out to your car. And then, or, go to the grocery store, but don't go in. The point is kind of figure out what you're wanting to work on and think of small actionable steps that can get you there. You can be like me, where sometimes, and this is because I've just done the work, I allow myself to fear the fear, like whatever it may be. Let's say it's rock climbing. Like, okay, I can feel this in my body. I am scared. Am I scared, or am I excited to try something new? Again, it's all about the brain and what we tell it.
Reframe those thoughts.
Yeah, and free those thoughts, like, okay, what is it? Is it this or that? And then go ahead and taking that small step and kind of in what I have found, especially with building an app and just going for it, getting out of my head. This is why movement is so important, because we get more in tune into our bodies as opposed to our mind. As I've found is that there is greatness on the other side of fear. Fear is normal. Fear is never going to go away, but it's not really controlling it. It's just kind of like, I see you, fear, but I'm not going to let you basically drive the car, change the channel, do the temperature. You're going to go to the back seat of the car, and I'm the one driving. I am in control. If I want to learn how to do this, or if I want MindStar to succeed, I'm going to have to get comfortable going on stage and being a public speaker to share my story. I'm going to have to get comfortable sharing my personal history of something that was very scary and very serious. I'm going to have to get comfortable doing more interviews and not being the other way around, where I interview people and I'm quiet. I'm the one that actually has to talk. And so it was like, just, okay, I'm going to go speak here. I'm going to go speak in front to my family. I'm going to go do this interview for a friend right quick, and building up that, okay, hey, you know what? I made that speech and I didn't die. I did it. And, so my thing is for people is, don't want them to get discouraged, because it takes work whenever you're trying to go. But if you can just do consistent things for yourself and just see the fear, almost, you can even kind of give it kind of a funny look, like in your mind, like make it to where it's not so scary. Like, what would fear look like to you? Don't make it look like it's some monster under the bed in your mind. Picture it as, like, I like to picture it sometimes as like the little Mucinex character. Just kind of this annoying little green thing. Yeah, blob, right, whatever it is, and kind of in a way just kind of like, okay, I see you, fear, you're annoying, but now I'm going to walk past you. I'm going to go past you. I mean, I even still get it to this day. I mean, and honestly, not just fear, just our overall thoughts. I mean, I'll get up early to go to the gym sometime, and my brain's like, it's too early. You just should go at your regular time, even though you're busy today. You can just skip. You can just skip the day. You don't have to go to the gym today. And then I just kind of say, okay, I see you, thoughts, I hear you, but guess what? I'm going to the gym anyways, because my schedule is busy and this is my typical workout day. So I'm going to go. And then while I'm working out, I'm thinking, why the heck was I like that? Well, that's just normal. Again, because my brain is used to me going to the gym around 1 to 3 as opposed to 6 a.m. It's used to sleeping then. And it's like, whoa, we're awake. What are you doing? We should be sleeping and, dreaming about unicorns or whatever. Like, I wish I dreamed of unicorns, but the point is that it takes work, but you're worth it. You're worth doing hard things for. And a lot of times we don't find the value in ourselves that we're worth it. But there is greatness on the other side of fear. Fear is normal, but if you kind of learn to kind of live with it, realize that it's always going to be there. And so you might as well just kind of toss it to the side, like, oh, there's fear. Duh, it's going to be here with me no matter what. Okay, and then keep moving forward. Amazing things can happen. Incredible things.
And it's interesting, you touched up upon a couple of important overarching themes of, taking the small steps and really paying attention to the small, to the tiny changes in yourself, and about, how self-care can be just these little things. And I know that that's what your app is kind of built upon, that it tries to recognize true self-care, not just like hyped up expensive forms of self-care like spa days that we've just talked about. And I know that your app is tracking things, like making something nice for yourself, no matter how small it is, whether it's just eating healthy breakfast or saying something kind to a stranger or to ourselves, or reading or meditating for a few minutes, or just walking outside for 10 minutes during lunch break. So tell me a little bit more about why your app is built upon those things, and and what makes it different from other apps in the space.
Sure. So it is a self-care rewards app. So you're tracking your self-care. We have curated suggestions from a group of mental health advisory board. So we have curated suggestions, but you also can add your own things. So the idea is it is items, the suggestions that we have are things right now you might not think are self-care. And of course, then we'll send, notifications to kind of just, little pop-ups, kind of make people think about what they think self-care is. And we built it very simplistic in that way. So pretty much it could be universal. I noticed a lot of self-care apps were geared towards women. Goal tracking apps were for everyone, but those that were focused on self-care seem to be just for women. And that's why my company is called MindStar, I believe that self-care is universal. And because one of the misconceptions I have found is that they think that self-care is just for women, something women do. And as a mother of two boys, and one of them actually is on the spectrum and is autistic, I constantly think about their self-care and their mental state and them taking care of themselves. I'm sure I annoy them because of all the things that I talk to them about. But the point is that I wanted something that was universal. And what is something that is intriguing for all genders? And I thought of the universe and space. And we all have our different theories on that, which is why we came up with MindStar. But it's built simplistic for, let's say, though, someone who is busy, knows the importance of self-care. They could put their self-care routine in there, put it in once, you check in. Every time you check in, you've checked off something on your list, you earn points. Those points eventually add up to a milestone. When you reach a milestone, you unlock a reward from a participating business. That's a buy one, get one free, a 20% off. That might be a free week at a gym or a free painting class. You can get free or discounted products, services, or experiences. So the idea is that you're getting rewarded for your self-care. We are a reward-based society, so why not use it for something positive than what it's usually used for? And another part is those experiences is to get people out of their comfort zone. You always want to take that painting class, but then you keep saying it's too expensive. Well, if you get a free painting class, you're going to go check it out. Or maybe it's a free week at that rock climbing gym. So then you think, well, I've always wanted to do that. Hey, I have a week free. I can go try it out. You try it out for that week. You realize that you love it, like you kind of thought you would. And then you kind of rearrange your finances to where you can afford to start going more. So the idea is to also get people out of their comfort zones and trying new things, because we all know if we get something free or discounted, we're more likely to try it. It's also simplistic in the sense of someone who's going through a deep depression. Let's say there's someone like me at one point where all I could think about was, well, at least I get my gummy bears tomorrow, gummy vitamins. They could put in there, I took my gummy vitamins. And the next day they check out that they've done that for themselves. And then they get a little notification that they've earned so many points. And, then we all like that little ding, right? That we've got a notification or we've done something or scored. And the studies behind that sound and how it lights up in the brain, this is just usually for something positive. And then that gets people doing more. Well, maybe getting out of bed, making your bed, taking a shower, because for some people, they do need that encouragement, and that's okay. We all sometimes are going to kind of get knocked down, and we kind of really have to go to what I was talking about having a couple weeks ago, is go back to the basics of self-care, which is just eating healthy, drinking water, and nurturing ourselves, whether that is, allowing ourselves to take a break or take a nap, or giving ourselves a break to go for a walk. Or a really great technique I like to use between tasks is kind of a 1 to 2 minute mindfulness breathing of just, say I finished my emails and I want to go to my next task, is really focusing on some breathing techniques. There's many of them, of just kind of releasing, like, okay, I accomplished this. I got all my emails done. I'm all caught up. And then throwing in some affirmations like, okay, this is great. You're on a good start. You got this going. Guess what? Now you're going to let this go, and you're going to be able to focus on your next task. And you're going to, whatever that is, that project, and really kind of close the door from one task, open it for the next, because as we like to brag about multitasking, it's really not that great for us. So that's a technique that I like to use in between. So I could definitely put that in there. Did I take some mindful minutes? Did I take some mindful breaks for myself? and then get rewarded for it. So we really made it to where it's really easy for anyone to use, like I said, whether they're busy and they know the importance of self-care, or somebody who unfortunately is going through a really rough time and they just need to be encouraged and celebrated, because at the end of the day, we all need to be encouraged and celebrated.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. And I love that you touch up on the importance of rewards. Like you said, I think a lot of apps and social media is built upon that reward system in our brain, but it's been taking the best of us in taking that in the whole wrong direction. So I absolutely love the idea of being rewarded for taking care of yourself and your needs.
Yeah, it's it's one of those things where there are apps that are similar, and there are apps that offer kind of, incentives, and there are apps that offer kind of self-care or goal tracking, but kind of combining that is what makes this a very unique and interesting thing to explore. And thankfully our support has been, phenomenal. Not that pushback is actually a good thing. We've had a little pushback from a few people, and that's just par for the course. But majority of people of all genders are just loving the idea of something out there that rewards and celebrates people. I'm really excited about the men who are interested in using the app. Some of them are a little bit younger. Yes, they're in their 20s that I've talked to. But I'm really excited to get this app out there and officially launched. The Android has soft launched. We're working on a couple of bugs now, which is just part of it for your first year. I mean, it is kind of working out those bugs. And then we're waiting for Apple to approve the final components of it for us to get that version out, which I'm excited for. So this first year, I'm really excited to getting people using it, getting that feedback, getting that data to where we can take it to the next level, which would be adding like a survey, a quick little questionnaire where you can start tailoring your incentives to the person and them geographically. So even though I think that face masks are for everyone, my husband's not going to want a face mask. So he would be able to get an incentive that's maybe more for him, whether that's a t-shirt, it's amazing what people get excited about. I know people that get excited about like a free pair of socks, which I do too sometimes. So, so it's all like, when I tell businesses who sign up for the incentive program, I was like, you really don't have to give much, but you'll be surprised, what people will just be excited about because you thought of them enough to send them that socks or that t-shirt or that candle or whatever it may be, or that discounted painting class. Or maybe it's a session with a finance coach and maybe you get 2 free sessions. That can change someone's life right there. Just those 2 hours of talking to a finance coach could really change their life as far as when it comes to their finances and their future of what they want to do. So, it's something that I feel like is incredibly needed. This is where I feel like self-care saves lives. And this is where it all comes down to how we take care of ourselves, because that's one thing that goes out the window when you are in a deep mental state. And I'm thinking of depression. You don't take care of yourself. And so if we could find a way to help encourage people to keep going to what they're feeling, and it hurts so much. In fact, the same part of the brain for emotional pain and physical pain lights up in studies, which why depression hurts and anxiety feels like you're dying is because the same part of your brain is lighting up. Your brain doesn't know pain is pain. It doesn't know the difference. So, if we can just encourage people to keep going and hopefully, have them just come aware of how easier than what they think it is to take care of themselves, and hopefully find some value and some compassion, then all of this has been worth it at the end of the day. I manifest that all the time of me being out somewhere, maybe a year or 2 from now, and I'm in line somewhere and the people in front of me are talking about my app. Not that I'm going to say that it's my app, but the fact that, if they're exchanging, hey, I got this item, and hey, I got this for free, or you should try this app out. That's going to get me choked up. That's what this is about, is encouraging people. It is free for users. And so people are probably wondering how we keep it free. And that's our healthcare marketplace that I touched on briefly, is that we do have a business model for the app of healthcare professionals can essentially list their services for a small monthly fee. And what sets it apart from other listings is that it's the nuts and bolts, the basic information that you need to make a decision. So it's the specialty, the location, form of contact, and then it's what forms of payment they accept. Because I have found in my own research that a lot of people, if their insurance doesn't cover it, they don't even consider it. They don't realize a lot of businesses, even if they don't accept your insurance, will actually work out a payment plan with you and actually might even have it discounted for you because they know that you need that service. Say it's chiropractic, but you don't have it under your insurance. They might offer you a discount, because they want to help you out, but they also know you can't, afford their regular price. And so this gives an opportunity for those places that also for that, and also for places that offer, let's say, there's some organizations that offer, if you come to they have a dentist that comes in on Tuesdays. And, so maybe you could go and get some, get your teeth cleaned, one Tuesday a month. A lot of time people don't know about those services that are out there that are free or discounted. So this gives them the opportunity to put their stuff out there to a bigger audience. And it allows for the user to also find that help easier. So then they can get that help and they can start feeling better. Because people, in my own experience, they want to go try something. They want to do something new. They maybe want to find a new doctor. But they don't know where to start. Other insurance websites outdated. This is going to list which doctors take which insurances. And, that's how I found out about my therapy. My therapy, I had no idea was covered until I actually started doing research for my son who's autistic, because they're both under behavioral health. And once I found out that I was also covered for that, you can bet I was in therapy. I found somebody. But that's essentially where that comes from, is keeping this free, but putting that healthcare marketplace. So if you want to take your self-care to the next level, you can certainly do so. And just help and encouraging people to realize that they are worthy, they are enough, and they deserve to be celebrated and rewarded.
Yeah, well, I am really excited to give this a try when it launches.
I know. There is a list, and we are so close. Of anybody is interested, I do a weekly self-care newsletter. They can go to mindstarapp.com and just scroll to the bottom and sign up. So that's a good way to kind of follow us whenever, the Android is fixed and the Apple version is actually out, people to test out. You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram at MindStar app. I am on TikTok, if anybody's on TikTok, which I have found has been actually phenomenal in my engagement. So I'm not gonna lie, if you want to talk to me directly, you might have a better chance with TikTok, because it's been incredible. I've only been on for a few weeks, but my engagement is more than what I've gotten all the other social media. So it's pretty exciting to kind of jump on the TikTok bandwagon and see what that does for MindStar. But I am at Dancing CEO, is where you can find me on TikTok. And I post videos, I post, self-care tips, and just overall, just kind of some mental health insights and encouragement. And then I talk about the app on there as well. So there's some different ways that you can reach me and kind of follow our journey.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Kristin, so much. And for our listeners, you will be able to find all of those links mentioned in the episode notes under the episode. And I want to thank Kristin so much for sharing your story and sharing, the story of strength and purpose and, coming out stronger from all those negative experiences and painful experiences you had to endure. So thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you for the opportunity. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening today. I hope you've learned a lot of new strategies. Be sure to check out the notes below this episode for additional resources and tools mentioned in today's show. I would love to keep the conversation going. Share your thoughts and takeaways with me on social media channels wherever you are. And do not forget to tag me. I'm so grateful for each and every one of you, and I will see you on the next episode. If this podcast has helped you even a little bit, please leave a review and subscribe so that we can help spread the message together.